Well, you know how this goes. It's conversations with Dame, and like I said, I try to get a. My thing is to get a wide variation of personalities and people and perspectives. You know, we discuss all kinds of different topics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, my thing is usually just lifestyle things, which is everyday, day to day stuff. Sometimes it gets into just pretty much personal or basic stuff. Just like I say, nothing, everything's surface.
Hmm.
So
Got it.
my thing is, what are you doing? So what's going on with you? What you doing?
Ooh, working, that's it. Working and living, dreaming
Yeah,
about the next chapter and how that's going to look.
the next chapter. What's that?
Yes,
Tell
the next
the
chapter.
next chapter of
The next
life, next
chapter.
chapter at work.
Yes. No, no, the next chapter of life. I have a great job. I'm an assistant project manager. So I'm doing well. Currently,
Mhm.
I'm spearheading a $20 million exterior facade scope of work. So like I'm busy. I'm very busy. But the
Yeah.
next chapter is, what does retirement look like, and how do I
Mhm.
get there successfully and
Okay.
not be broke? That's
Now,
the
question: How
bottom
long?
line.
Now, my question is, how long have you been
Mm.
doing that? The project manager thing.
Um, I've been doing it since, well, I graduated in 2018, but prior to that, I was working as an intern for a company. So, what was that, 8, 9 years? Before that, I'm a registered nurse. I'm always going to be that. I have a license to still practice. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm
You know,
multifaceted.
side note, I always tell people when I meet other people that are RNs or whatever, especially travel nurses, I tell people
Mm-hmm.
that you were the first travel nurse I ever had, seen. I didn't know nurses travel back then. Remember, I was kind of completely blind about nurses, what a nurse does, a
Yeah.
travel nurse. What is that? You know what I'm saying? And so now,
Well,
in this day and
yeah.
age, travel nurses are like
Hmm.
everywhere. Everybody wants to be a travel nurse.
Of
And we talk
course.
what,
Of course.
99, 2000, something like
Mhm.
25, 26 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yes. I'm like,
But
man,
that's
I
the
didn't
thing.
know. I'm like, man, she's been in that a long time.
I sure have. I sure have.
Yeah. Would you go back?
I'm good at that. No.
Yeah. I figure that schedule is probably grueling compared to what you're doing now.
Well, I can't say that it's different than what I do now because, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I have to be at the job site at 7. I have a lot of
Mm.
responsibility supervising. So I'm there sometimes till still 5:30, 6:30, sometimes 7 o'clock at night. So my hours haven't changed. Yes, difference is nurses, you can work 3 days, 3 days a week, 3 shifts, and you're done. But, when you love what you do, the time doesn't matter. And that's what I've learned. More than anything, if you love what you do, everything else is smooth. It comes to you.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think it sometimes it takes a while to get in your niche, and once you
Yes.
do, that's it. It's not, everything else was just what it was. So I don't know.
Agree.
Like I say, I feel like doing this right here is kind of one of my things now, and I don't do it as often. Which I've told myself for 26 I'm gonna pick up a lot. But this is like been a really it's been a really good thing for me. Like I say, I've learned a lot, and I guess I brought people together, and like I say, it's been pretty fruitful. So
So
people
why has
learn a
it been
lot.
fruitful? Define fruitful. What made it fruitful for you?
Well, what happens, people they tend to ask, people make connections with other people, and I even had a friend of mine get reached out to about a company that wanted her to come and speak with them. Just I guess on some motivational stuff because what she was, she did a interview, and she is a crisis counselor, and that came out in the interview, and they wanted her to come speak. So you never know.
That's
May
fantastic.
not be for me, but just for other people. Period. Just participating. You never know who may see this, and and how that
That's
can be
true.
successful and stuff like that. So that was good. That was good for her. That was really good.
Nice.
But me, like I say, I've been doing it, and I just haven't been as active as I should. I've done a lot of them. I just haven't put them out there, and that's what I'm working on
Mm-hmm.
now. Being able to put stuff out and get it out to people. People definitely want to see them. I get a really good response when I do post them. So you know, I look for stuff like that. But guess what? Question for you: after
Okay.
all the up and down stuff, you found a job that you really
Mm-hmm.
like, you found your niche. Like I say, over that time, tell me one truth that you've learned to accept over this time. Something that you may have when you were younger, you was like, maybe, but at this point, you're just like, hey, that's just what it is.
The truth that I've
Just the
learned
truth,
to
or
accept.
yeah, something that you might have came across and were like, hey, you know what? That's just what it is.
Um,
Right,
I
right.
went
Now,
first.
something to think about, right?
No, that is something to think about. Um, I think the
Mm,
truth is, unfortunately, sometimes that you know that you can depend on yourself. That's the truth.
mm.
Don't look for anyone else to do it for you. Get your ass up and do it yourself.
Yeah,
And
nobody's rooting for you like you will. Of course, that's always going to
yes,
be, what I'm saying. Nobody will root for you like you
yes,
will. You know.
that's the truth.
Hmm.
That is, mhm. Put your faith in yourself, and anything else might come along. But trust in you.
Hmm.
Don't doubt yourself.
So that being said, have you applied that to your outlook overall, or just just something that came up and you just like, man, this is it.
I think it's a part of both. Understanding years old and going through
Hmm.
navigation of life, I've learned some truths, and I've learned to accept some truths. And for me, knowing that I can depend on me is the most important.
Hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
leave it like that for right now.
Okay. That definitely makes sense. Yeah.
I think so.
Question.
Yes.
Like I say, I always have these situational things, but this particular question here, this is one that was popular on something I did recently, and it was like, would you consciously date someone who made considerably less than you? Is that a deal breaker? I ain't talking about like 2 or 3 thousand. I'm talking about considerably less. Like half your
I'm going to
salary.
I'm going to tell you like this. In my course of being a registered nurse, as well as being in the construction industry as an assistant PM, I've always
Mm-hmm.
made a very nice salary, and
Mm-hmm.
I have dated individuals that made less than me. But I found that it's a problem. It becomes an issue. Um, it could be because I like to do things that they can't afford to do, and I'm nobody's trick. So I'm not going to be the money bag always saying I got it.
Now,
You smile at me
now,
that way, huh?
question before you get to
Uh,
that, was that something that you learned later or before the relationship?
what do you mean later or before? What do you mean?
I mean, did you learn that? Did you find out about that? That they made considerably less before you entered the relationship, or was this after, or during the relationship, or whatever?
Pretty much during the relationship.
No.
Men have this way of, you always say that the truth comes out in the wash, right?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, everybody wants to try to play in that playing field because they want to impress you, right?
Hmm.
But then after a while, they can't keep up the facade. And, then you start to say,
Heard
oh, wait, wait, wait. I want to go away this weekend. Well, I don't have no money.
it.
Okay,
Hmm.
well, understand. Let's go away next week and let's plan it. Oh, well, things are not going too well. Oh, it becomes a pattern. And
Mm.
yeah, yeah. At first,
Slow
I
mo.
thought in life that that would be okay, but it's not.
Yeah, because
It's not.
eventually you think it constantly resurfaces, right?
It always resurfaces. How many marriages that you have that ended in divorce because of money?
Usually they say that's the primary reason, besides
Yes,
infidelity. Besides infidelity.
yes, yes, yes.
Hmm. What's something that's toxic, but you used to think it was love?
Something that's toxic.
But back in the day, you thought it was love. Well, previously, until you realized it was just toxicity.
Well, there's so many things. Um, I was in a 13-year relationship where um, he wasn't doing right. Let me just put it that way. But we went
Mm-hmm.
back and forth with, "But baby, I love you." That stage, and
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm sorry, and go through the motions of, well, this is how my life was, and now that I've got you, I don't know how to act, but I'm trying to get right. So you fall for it until you start to realize, no, this motherfucker is toxic, and this is a repeated pattern. I got to get the hell on.
Man. Mm-mm-mm. And that came, and it took you a while to figure that one out, right?
It did take a while to understand, but it really boiled down to what was inside of me that allowed that to come out in someone else. So I had to stop and look at me.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to turn the mirror on someone else as they're the fault. That's the reason why. But then I got to look at, well, what part did I play in it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. So I've
Hmm.
learned to, one, love myself, two, have boundaries, and understand that sometimes everything ain't for everybody. Definitely for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that I believe everything ain't for everybody. Because sometimes you come in situations where it just seems so perfect, and just
Mm-hmm.
maybe one or two things are off, and you try to change it and change it and change it, and then you get to the
Can't
point
change.
where you realize this you can't change nobody, and this just
Nope.
wasn't for you. Even though
Yep.
it looks good, it wasn't for you.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You
You've learned that later on in life that you can't change people. So either you got to accept them for who they are and what they are, or you move on. Don't sit there and cry and complain and whine about it and then want to call your friends and complain every damn other weekend and day about what's going on with the situation. Either you accept it or you leave. It gets
yeah,
tiring for the person that has to listen to it all the time.
all the time they're gonna be like, "Yo, that's crazy."
Well, after a
Here's some.
while, you want to get support, but then at a certain point in time, it becomes more like, how much support can you really give? You want to be in that situation, so why are you coming back to me?
Mm,
You got to either shit or get off the pot, is what they say, right? So I have a question for you, because you say you're working on the empire. Do you find that it's good to have someone in the trenches with you while you are working on that empire versus meeting someone after you attain that empire? Can you trust that person is with you just because of you or because of
yeah, I
the
know what you're
success
asking.
that
The person after after you've acquired everything, because everybody wants a finished project and nobody wants to start on a project. Everybody wants everything
mm,
finished. You know,
yep.
and the crazy part about it, the things that they say about these people with finished projects, that they're not finished projects. They want finished projects, and they're not finished projects. Well,
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing: um, the energy and time, and I want to emphasize time that it takes to go through and vet somebody, to be able to have them in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
that's your problem. That's your main problem: the time and the energy that it takes away from you building any damn thing. So a lot of times it's just easier. Go ahead and do what you're gonna do, and if you find it while you're on the on the journey, more power to you. But if you don't, guess what? You'll get there even faster. You know, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get there even faster because
You
you'll
get
be
to the
focusing
empire.
on a lot less. So what now?
I said you get to the empire faster.
Yeah, exactly. You get to the empire faster. But yeah, I mean, I have, like I said, I have dated and I've done all that kind of stuff, but I'm just, as of lately, I haven't, I've just made up my mind not to, just go ahead and try to get everything else together. Now, super quick, I have one. Cheaters.
Mm.
Cheater, always a cheater, or can they be revived? They be reformed.
You always want to think that someone can be reformed, and there's some that can. There's some that can, but for me, unfortunately, I'm going to say once a cheater, always a cheater.
I
They
mean,
got to
and
make.
that's
They got. It's,
hmm,
it's in them. It's in them. Because I look at situations very, very. I'm pragmatic. I think in that sense that I always say, listen, if I'm dealing with someone, we might not. We agree to disagree, and if things don't work out, I'm okay with you walking away and leaving. What I'm not
hmm,
okay with is you sitting there and wasting my time and then playing with someone else and playing with their time. That's a
hmm,
problem to me. And you
hmm,
find men because they have a situation, and they have a good situation, and they don't want to either work on whatever problems that they have in a relationship, so they want to hold on to you and still play the field. A cheater is a
hmm,
cheater. A man
yeah.
has to be willing to change because he wants to change. It's got nothing to
Hmm,
do with a woman. You could be that everything, that badass body, that good job, good sex. But if he's a dog, he's a dog. It's not you, it's him.
hmm,
I think that's something that women do. We start to internalize, well, it's me. I gotta be doing something wrong. It's not you. That person has their own demons and their own issues that they haven't worked out. And unfortunately, it's calamity because they're leaving dead bodies all along the way.
They're leaving dead bodies everywhere. Wow,
Leaving
that's
dead
wild.
bodies.
Mm.
And think about it.
Now
A
here's
woman.
something.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in your life, is marriage still a goal?
Hi. No,
Mm.
no. I'm not going to say that if it happened that I wouldn't be open to it, but it's not a goal for me. My goal is to become a developer, build family compounds, and live
Mm.
the rest of my life comfortably. That's my
Yeah.
goal. Travel, of course, and if I have someone that I can share that with, then by all means. Don't you find sometimes, like, it sounds good, the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into it, and I don't know if it's just maybe the wrong person, but it just
Mm-hmm.
all turns to, something different. The
Yeah. Some.
dream, the rose-colored glasses, get taken off, and you start to see the person for this ain't it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it is like that, and that's that your discernment or realization in a relationship is always polarizing. Either gonna make you go one way or the other.
That's
But I
true.
noticed something in your last thing. You mentioned the family. So
Hmm.
family vacations, is that a yes, no, or maybe?
Oh yes, I would love family vacations.
I mean, I'm just saying,
That's
like
the best.
annually. Is that something that you do now, or is that something
Well,
you
something that
know?
we planned on doing, but we didn't get the opportunity to begin. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. We did it once, actually, a couple of years. We went to Florida because my sister has a timeshare out there, and we
Okay.
all went to Florida. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice.
they must be really big on selling timeshares in New York. Cause boy, look at him. Looks like everybody comes to Florida for timeshares. Florida and Tennessee.
Well, she's had hers for over 20 years.
Mm.
And, it's been a good thing because she's got 4 kids. So,
Hmm.
you get your house, a little apartment, and you get to bring your food and you get to have fun in another state. She actually lives in Texas now. So that's why I want
No,
to go to
no.
Texas. Yeah.
Texas. Well, you mentioned that before. What, Dallas? You say Houston, Dallas,
Yeah. Yeah. No, Dallas. Dallas. I'm not fond of
Dallas,
Houston.
Dallas, Fort Worth area. We heard a lot. I heard a lot about that area. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's picking up. So
yeah.
you
I
guys
mean,
want to go
business or is that a business thing?
say that again?
I said, is that like business or just personal? That's the area you're looking at or whatever.
For both. I want to start my
Hmm.
business in Texas. So I'm utilizing all the knowledge that I'm gaining here and to be able to bring it there. So I
Hmm.
think it's going to work out really, really good.
Hmm.
Really good. And, we
It-
think about it, the way the world is going, a family is the most important thing, you know. And I always had a dream of being right next door to my sister, walk out my house and be able to walk to hers, and having land for our children. And, when they grow up and they have their families, we're all together. Have a couple of chickens. And
now she want to get the country life, huh?
I'm ready. This city girl is ready.
You
I
ready
can't
for the
wait.
country? Ooh, yeah, that's crazy. But I don't think Dallas is like that, is it? I think Dallas. I'm thinking
Oh,
Dallas is
yeah,
more
you
because
think about
I've been in Dallas a couple times. It was just more
mm,
city like where I was, maybe.
it is. It is. But you got the outskirts, you got the suburbs of Dallas.
Yeah, the
You go to the
suburbs.
east side, you buy some land and put some roots down.
Yeah, they say you get a lot more house in Texas than you do some other places.
I can see
Mm,
that. I can see that.
a lot more house.
But you'll
Family.
end
So
up in.
when you trying to get out there, you just picking up, leaving, or you taking the fam with you, or what's going on?
Well, my daughter's, she's living her life. She's going to nursing school right now, so
Hmm.
she's going to do the travel nursing thing when she finishes and get to live her life. So I don't know
Hmm.
when she's coming, but in the next few years, I have a
Yeah,
great job.
yeah. I
We
hate to leave
possibly,
there.
yeah, don't want to leave that 6 figures, but they are going to be opening up an office in Texas, in Dallas. So
Hmm.
hopefully, God willing, I get to travel with my company and set up shop in Texas.
Okay. So now,
So do you?
question.
And let me ask
Hmm.
you a question, because you good at this. Let me get a question and thing.
Okay.
What do you feel about dating someone or dating a woman who doesn't make as much as you?
Well, that's the default with most men. You're always going to end up. Well, I ain't gonna say you always, but more than likely, you're going to end up dating somebody that doesn't make the same amount. But that's never been a thing with men. That's a thing with women. Dudes, if she look right, I don't give a damn. She work in the dollar store. Completely irrelevant. I mean, if you like them, you like them. You don't care what. Because
That's
more than
true.
likely, if you're a traditional guy, um,
Mm-hmm.
that person would you would integrate them into your household or whatever, and you're already living. So if you bring that
Mm.
person in, you already paying all the bills. I mean, shit, they can, you know,
Okay, so then
kind
I
of
got
just
another
assimilate
question.
it. Hmm.
I got another question then. So, do you
Hmm.
find that you would prefer a woman that has or makes less money than you than a woman that's financially on the same level as you?
I think it's you don't really approach women with that thought. Men don't approach women with damn, I wonder what she makes. At least not men that got jobs. If you got some dude that's just trying to move into your house, of course. But you don't even really care. You just like, hey, whatever. We'll figure that part out when we get there. But if she did
But
make more, I mean, I don't,
mhm.
I don't act any different than she did if she made less, because what
But do
happens
you find
is
that the attitude of a
the
woman that
woman's
makes
money technically does not affect a man.
true?
You don't her money does not affect you.
Do you find that those women are more
Uh oh, they're
difficult?
losing.
I'm here.
Hello,
I'm here.
hello.
I'm here.
Oh no, no, it flashed out for a second. Yeah, but usually, a woman's money doesn't affect you. I mean, like I say, if you come in that scenario, you already have, as a guy, you already have a place to stay, you already got a car and all that type of stuff. Remember, as the standard relationship or traditional relationships, remember you're the provider, so you
Agreed.
know, her money does not really affect you. It's not like you coming in like, hey, you got half the rent and half the mortgage or whatever. You're not even tripping on that because you've been paying the mortgage, you've been paying the lights, you've been paying everything else. So well, was she using extra power that she came in? So yeah, I mean, there's no real effect on that. So you're like, hey, if she make 100,000 or she make 20,000, either way, and of course, some men want traditional homemakers, women that's gonna pop out babies and they're gonna sit home and watch the kids. So he definitely ain't
Hmm.
thinking about what she make. If she has a job, that's like a little side project. Just give her something to do in the daytime. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But like I say, maybe she
Hmm.
might be aspiring to do other stuff. If that's the case, that's even better. That's even better for her. You know.
Do you find that women who are single and are of a higher tax bracket are more difficult than women that you know are just
They
in a
can
different?
be. I think I think social media has a lot to do with that. I think people see posts and they think that's the norm with women with the aggressive masculine type stuff. And I don't think that's really the norm. I think there are a couple women out there that's living like that or trying to aspire to be that, like, oh, now I'm making money. I can talk to people any kind of way. Or, they take on the masculine role in the relationship. And, some men may be okay with it. But usually, if you're a guy, and I deal with guys all day, when I come home, I don't want to deal with another guy.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I come home,
that
I don't
doesn't.
want to deal with another guy. If that's the case, I could just continue doing by myself and I'm fine.
Hmm.
So, I don't want to deal
Hmm.
with another guy. So, just go ahead. If I'm dealing with, personalities, men, masculine personalities all the way. And I understand it's not that some women do have to have a masculine personality because they're working in a man's world. Most of this stuff
Hmm.
is, they may be working in a work environment where they're forced to take on a masculine role. However,
Hmm.
if you're doing that, you got to know how to come home, turn it on, turn it off. You know, so
Or
it's
even
just what it is.
a single parent. Hmm.
Hmm?
And or even have to have been a single parent and
Yeah,
had to be
yeah.
mommy and daddy.
Have to be mommy and daddy. So you have to take on a masculine or a forceful role, and that does happen sometimes. But
Okay.
usually things like that. That's something that you can kind of figure that, and you can kind of see that coming. Um,
Hmm.
Everybody can't. Some people are attracted to it. Some people it's a turn off. I don't know if it's a deal breaker for most men, but men in general, they see it. They're like, hey, man, it is what it is. And women are feminine for the right man. So if you meet the
That
right
is true.
guy, you'll be
I
feminine
was
for the
about
right.
to say that. I was
Yeah,
about to say that. A man
yeah,
can make a woman turn to butter if
yeah.
it's the
If
right
the
man.
right one, you're gonna do what you're supposed to do. So that's no real thing. But I think some people, they kind of emphasize that. I've seen a lot of debate shows, guys debating. Oh yeah, because women are this, women are that. It is. I think a lot of those things that are said when these women take on these masculine roles, or they say
Mm.
these ridiculous requirements, those are for men that they don't like. Because if a woman like
Mm.
you, all that stuff is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, she don't go to chain restaurants, so she don't do the. Man, look at her, bro. If she like you, dog, she'll go to the gas station. Y'all eat hot dogs from the gas station. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she like you. You know, she like you is irrelevant. All that stuff is irrelevant. That's for dudes that they don't like. That's for them dudes that's trying to holler at them randomly on the street that they say stuff that too. The dude she in
Mm-hmm.
love with, she boy, look here. She'll walk barefooted in night in the rain for him. So,
Mm-hmm.
I
You're
look, I
right.
say, yeah, if you're a random dude, what I'm saying? Of course, she's going to give you all these ridiculous constraints. It's done to scare you off, to run you away. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to talk to this
Mm-hmm.
dude. Let me tell him something stupid,
I think also this is even sometimes it's a little bit more than that because social media has, really do
Hmm.
have us bugging out, you know,
Yeah.
thinking that the criteria is unattainable. Because you start to look at what do you bring to the table. At least that's my
Hmm.
perspective.
Man, you know what? That's a big question, too. What you bring to the table. If you, like I said, if you like a chick, she ain't got to bring nothing to the table. You know what I'm saying? All you want is
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not
That's beautiful.
necessary. Dude don't never ask you, oh, where you work and how much you make, and you got man. If that dude is asking you all of that, sound like he trying to come live with you. You know what I'm saying?
You want to come up?
Why does it matter?
Want to come
A
up, huh?
man, the typical relationship, typical. I'm just saying. I ain't gonna say typical, but just say standard relationship. The man does not benefit off the woman's money. Like I say, if you're already paying all the bills, you're paying for all of the stuff in the household. When she comes, usually what she buy you a birthday present, a Christmas present, and maybe if you're dad, something for Father's Day.
Okay.
You might get lunch every now and then. She might, oh, you know what? I bought you lunch today. It was $12. I got this. You don't get no money out there. You know what I'm saying? So she can work at the dollar store and do all that same stuff. And your birthday present might vary a little bit if you're working at the dollar store. You know what I'm saying? Might be on the low end, but really, other than that, what money does a woman really go out and spend on these guys? Now, you're talking about these higher earning women, these women that make 100, 200,000. Now, she might, oh, you know what? I planned us a trip, you know what I'm saying, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Mm-hmm.
standard, you've been planning all the other trips. You think a standard relationship, y'all do what, 4, 3, 4, 5 trips a year? Well, maybe that might be a lot because that sounds like every 2 months,
That's a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
but about 3 trips a year. Three
Two,
trips, that's
three,
about
two,
right. That's
three.
about every three
Yeah. That's
months.
average. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe every 4 months. So that's about three. I mean, major trips like out the country or somewhere out of the state or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you about 3 trips a year. So if
Mm-hmm.
you do 3 trips a year, more than likely you pay for all of those. The guy's gonna probably pay for all of that. Especially
Mm-hmm.
And I always looked at it. If it's my idea, I'm paying for it. I ain't asking you. I'm asking you to come. I'm not asking you to bring any money. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
interesting you say that because, I think sometimes, like, I've found that I have had male friends that don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to come up with an idea of a date or a trip. And it's like you're doing all the planning. That's boring. That's annoying after a while. So to
Yeah,
hear
that you
you say
plan.
that, that's quite refreshing because not a lot of men think like that.
Yeah, well, it depends. Also, remember, some people haven't done that before, so they haven't done the whole vacationing thing, because a lot of families don't do it. I want to think a lot of families come out and they don't vacation, they don't take trips. It might be something y'all might have did something that when grandma was alive, went to grandma's house for a holiday, or you might have traveled one time or something. But usually families don't take consistent family trips, especially annually. Some families do it.
Hmm.
I got an auntie that religiously she goes to Kissimmee every year. She comes from the Bronx. She goes to Kissimmee every
Oh
year like clockwork. You know, I
wow.
mean, just always my cousin called me and say, "Oh, yep, mom." He's like his mom. He says, "Oh, yeah, she in Kissimmee. This her time of year. She got a week. She got one of the Westgate things. She down there for a week
Mm-hmm.
every year.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, you want to catch her? Unless you go to the Bronx, you can catch her in
You can go
Kissimmee.
to
I catch
Kissimmee.
her when she's in Florida. Yeah, because she
Okay.
goes like she's probably had it 20 years or more. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
probably more
Mm-hmm.
because I remember he was telling me in 2002 when he was first coming to when he first moved to Georgia. My cousin Charles, when he first moved to
I remember
Georgia,
that name, Charles.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like, "Yo, man, I'm down here, such and such, such and such, and my mom's coming to Florida. I'm gonna try to catch. Her. I'm gonna I'm gonna drive to Kissimmee and meet her in Florida. Because otherwise I gotta meet
Nice.
her in New York. She don't go nowhere else. Yeah, but
Nice.
but that happens. I'm gonna say a lot of people, if guys, if they're not if that's not their thing, or they haven't
Mm-hmm.
been doing that, either you got to have somebody with a new outlook, or you got to show them. You got to show them. Mm.
Agreed.
And these days here now, I'm seeing this all over social media. Everybody travels now. People didn't travel like this. At least this demographic. They just started this in the last 20 years. I want to say not even 20 years, 15 years. I want to
No.
say
Yeah.
2010,
Mm-hmm.
2010, 2012, 13, people start traveling. People, man, these people weren't traveling. These people, man,
Mm-hmm.
I used to go places and people look at me crazy. Why you going there? I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I mean, it was just a thing that you just didn't see. It wasn't common. Now it's like,
Yeah.
people saying, oh, if you don't have a passport, I don't talk to you and whatever. And you be like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, have you been anywhere besides the Bahamas? You talking about a passport? The Bahamas and Jamaica.
Oh Lord.
Like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
crazy. But anyway, those situations, I want to say those people, um, either somebody got to expose them. Either you got to expose them, or they got to get exposed by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it might be somebody else to put them on that, and you get the beneficiary out of that. Because usually, what you do in a relationship, especially when a relationship is failing, it doesn't benefit you in that relationship. It benefits the next relationship.
It sure does.
That's
If
why
the
they say,
person has
you with a
actually.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say you with a person for 4 years, y'all ain't got married, and then you break up, and 4 months later he married to some chick. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Or sometimes they just
It
ain't shit.
happens. Hey, nothing with that. I think there's a lot of people out there that have those opinions of various people. Oh, they ain't shit. And then the next person marry them, like, oh, I love them. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened. Whatever you did, thanks, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes
I
on
agree.
like that.
It
But
can. It definitely can.
yeah, but like I say, I think at these points, we have a lot of conversations, and I've had a lot of conversations on this platform, and just
Mm-hmm.
seeing the outlook of people. Most people are dating or married. I've had a thing with a couple people who were married as well, and just everybody's viewpoint and outlook on relationships, and
I think
and
you have to
people.
have that core foundation and you got to know what you want. You know, my thing is spirituality. You need to be spiritual.
Mm,
You got to have some type of connection to God. I find
yeah.
that when you
So
have
what
a
happens?
foundation,
No, so here's a question: what happens? Because we had a guy on, and this guy, he was dating somebody, and at the time he was still dating, he was currently dating, and
mhm,
she was, this, I think she was a Jehovah's Witness, but he was a Muslim.
that's interesting.
Yeah, how I'm just thinking, I'm like, how does that work out? Do women, is that a deal breaker? You're like, damn, this guy, everything else is perfect except he's a Muslim. And I mean, he's a practicing Muslim. He does the Salah,
Mm,
6 times a day. I mean, he's really on top of his thing. So I guess he's serious about it. So it wasn't like he was just
that's
something
the question
in
is
the
whether she's willing to, because if you go further into the relationship, at some point somebody might have to convert. I don't know how long
Yeah.
it lasts with
Mm.
one person being, especially Muslim, and the other person being of a different religion. Muslims have this. My father's Muslim,
Hmm.
and yeah,
That's
yeah,
rough.
you're not going to be able. Yes, it's rough. It's rough
Mm.
because
Because
they
yeah,
have a
something
whole
I think
different.
about, then to have especially to get married, to get
Exactly
married, because I think Muslims don't get married in churches; they get married in a mosque, and
in
you know,
mosques.
the bring the family in. You have to have, it's like I don't think you can marry an infidel. That's what because anybody who doesn't believe, should call them infidels, right?
Mm, I don't
I'm
know.
crazy.
I don't know how it works.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about this. That's a whole nother show. We're gonna make that a show. That's
That
that's a
yeah,
show as
that
well.
could be. That could be
Mm.
because religion is that's a very big topic, and
Topic,
that's a
yeah.
sore topic for some people. You know
Hmm. Politics and religion is always going to be a problem, you know.
exactly.
But I will tell you this: it is very interesting because it's interesting to get these different views on this.
Hmm.
But today, with you on here, this has actually been a pretty interesting conversation, and we're roughly right at our time. And so I'm gonna go ahead and slide it right here. But I want you back because I want to make sure we have a different one that comes, our dating relationships. We call it the love and relationships thing, which we have multiple people on. And that one is kind of like 5 or 6 people, and we have like a list of scenarios that we go through, and just trying to get what do you think out of a scenario, and
That
it's
sounds
just interesting to see all the different points of view. And I think you would love that. That would be a very interesting conversation.
yeah, that sounds like fun.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well,
I appreciate it. Thank